Think back to a time where you were in a big city and you saw a homeless person. I'm sure they look dirty or tired or depressed, and think about it. You probably sped up your walk or put your head down trying not to make eye contact. You walk by thinking, what have they done to get to this desperate state? What has their life been like? Most people walking down the street that see a homeless person think it's all their fault. Here's the thing, I'm not denying that it's their fault. Some action of theirs had to have caused their homelessness. But there are so many other factors that contribute to homelessness that are many times out of people's control. The biggest factor of homelessness now is job loss. According to the National Coalition for the Homeless, 35% of homeless people lost their jobs. Employers want the perfect employee, and sometimes if people don't fit that description, they let them go. Today, the rapid and unexpected loss of jobs and foreclosures has dramatically added to the number of people without roofs over their heads. People ask, why don't they just get another job? Well, because it's hard. There are a lot of things that stand in their ways. Criminal records, low education. Some have small children with no child care, or some have disabilities. Even not having transportation to your job can affect whether you have one or not. But there are other causes to homelessness too. According to data from alcoholrehab.com, 38% of the homeless abuse alcohol and 26% abuse other drugs. Substance abuse is a relapsing brain disease, which means it's a mental illness. These disorders are actually very common and found mostly among chronically homeless and the people within homeless families. Sometimes alcohol and drugs are misused to cope with the fact of being homeless. But it's not just that. There are countless other reasons people are homeless. Some being bills costing higher than their earnings, loss of family, or loss of marital status. And there are so many different types of people suffering from homelessness. There are war veterans and the chronically homeless and children, and whole families, runaways, and the mentally ill, and so many more. Today, there is such a variety of terrible things that can happen in people's lives that lead them to homelessness. Let me talk about war veterans for a second. War veterans, as in the people who fought for our country, are fighting for their lives on the streets. Some come back from the war with post-traumatic stress disorder or traumatic brain injury. According to Green Doors, a nonprofit trying to help homelessness, 17% of the homeless across America are veterans, and 53% of those homeless veterans are injured and disabled. In addition to the homeless who are veterans, youth homelessness is also becoming out of control. It is so unfortunate because kids often cannot help it. Some have deceased families or unfit parents and need to be in the foster care system. Oftentimes, foster care can lead to violence and juvenile justice programs. And when it's time to get out of those systems or programs, they have nowhere to go. Some run away. Some kids in their homes can have abuse or bad influences. Some get thrown out for being pregnant or gay. Imagine if you were a kid all by yourself with nowhere to go. How would you feel? Most youth homeless, as a result of this, can become depressed, anxious, suicidal, and malnourished. Contrary to my argument, there is a counterclaim. A large portion of the homeless do not want help. Some like the freedom, and some even think they deserve to be homeless. And if they don't accept the help, then there is nothing anyone can do for them. There are even laws for mentally ill people. You can't just declare them mentally ill and lock them away. You can't force them to take pills or get help. It's completely their choice. Unless they are harming others or harming themselves, they are at free will. But what about the people who want help? Who need it? The people who are stuck? Who need someone to save them? Yes, it's their fault for getting into it, for getting into the drugs, for drinking the bottle after bottle of alcohol, for running away. The ghosts of the mistakes they made in the past haunting them. But should a mistake put you out of your home or your family? Should that mistake put you on the street with judgmental eyes looking at you with disgust? Should it leave you with no help and no way to quit? Absolutely not. What about the gay or the pregnant? Do they deserve to be on the streets? Do they deserve to not have a home? Do children deserve to not have a home? Is that a good way to grow up? Everyone should have a chance to get better, and everyone should have a place to call home. See, homelessness is really a huge problem. Many foundations and organizations like the National Alliance to End Homelessness and the Coalition for the Homeless and the National Association for the Education of Homeless Children and Youth are working hard to make a dent in the growing problem. But homelessness is getting too big. We need to keep shelters and food banks funded, and we need a way to report if you see a homeless person struggling. Instead of complaining about them or walking away with our noses turned up, we should focus on getting them into a shelter and getting them the resources they need. These changes will not happen overnight, but this is a major issue that is worth spending time on. This is how we slowly but surely end homelessness, by simply providing a place for them and giving people the resources that they need to get back on their feet. Because no one deserves homelessness, no matter what.